Well, this sure exists. About 2 years ago, I made this Photoshop as a quick joke to send to one of my best friends, and ever since I made it, the idea of actually building something like this has stuck in my mind. Well, it finally happened, and it's glorious. So, what inspired me to actually build this thing? Get back to me on that. So, this car started out as a model power big cannon car. Yes, that is really what it is called. It's not based on any real cannon car, and the US Army sure as hell never had anything quite like this. Closest thing I can find is a World War II German gun, although I don't believe it's based off any specific one of those either. This car first appeared in 1976 in the Cox Trains catalog and would continue to be produced until Cox exited the HO market in the early 80s, where the tooling would be sold to AHM, who would rename the car to the much better Big Thunder Railway Gun, and it would be discontinued along with the rest of the AHM lineup around the mid 80s. The tooling for this car would go to Model Rectifier, and they would continue to produce the car under the old Big Cannon car name until Lionel bought them out in 2018. But being purchased by the laughingstock of the model railroad world wasn't enough to stop the amazing Big Cannon car. The tooling was passed over by Lionel and sold to Rock Island Hobby, who, to my knowledge, continue to produce the car to this very day. You can still buy the original Big Cannon car. I bought mine as a model power car several years ago, I think in 2017 or 2018, and I really never ran it much. It wasn't a very reliable car, so it just sat on a siding almost its entire life. I was gonna sell it at a train show last year, but I just forgot to bring it because it was not in the box of stuff I was bringing to the show. So it was just still chilling and vibing on the layout, just on the same siding. It's not valuable enough to be worth the trouble of selling it online, and everyone and their grandma has one. So what do I do with this? At some point, probably on an airplane cleaning out my phone storage and photo roll, I ran across that Photoshop once again. I already had a Conrail project, so I already had decals on order. Uh oh. I'm no stranger to repainting models or really weird Conrail projects. So after laughing to myself for a week straight, I started by removing the original US Army lettering on the car with 91% isopropyl alcohol. And then I removed the trucks, the cannon itself, and I have no idea what these things are called. It's super simple to take this thing apart. There isn't a single screw on this whole damn thing. I then primed it with some Rust-Oleum white primer, and after that I hit it with my trusty Tamiya Brilliant Blue that I've already had on hand for my freelance railroad. It's not a perfect match for Conrail Blue, but even model manufacturers don't seem to really agree on the proper color for Conrail Blue. These cabooses and locomotive are all different blues, and they're still made by the same manufacturer. So I really don't think anybody has a solid answer for Conrail Blue. I shouldn't have to say this, but please paint in a well ventilated area or outside. Paint fumes from spray cans are toxic. Please be sensible for your own health. After painting, I put the car back together and got around to ordering the decals. The decals I chose was a set of Conrail Transfer Caboose Waterslide decals from CMR Products. They are excellent decals, and I would highly recommend ordering from them if you want to make your own Conrail caboose. I love waterslide decals. They're so easy. Just dip in water, apply, fuck it up, scream, and repeat. After cutting them and putting them in the most lukewarm water I could find, I used a toothpick to smooth out the decals onto the lower body of the car, and most of these decals I had to cut down a little bit to fit into these small spaces. With the caboose decals, I did accidentally put the little stripes on back to front. Oh well, it's not like this actually existed. So you really can't pick this apart for accuracy. The road number of this car is 1820, which bears nothing on any real Army gun, and was an EMD F7A in the real world. It really was just a matter of cutting a caboose decal to fit. After decals is pretty much done cosmetically. I occasionally sometimes think about adding a maintenance way decal onto the cannon sometimes, although I can't really find one I like. Cosmetically, this car is done, but it's still essentially an almost 50-year-old car that has had exactly one change throughout its entire production life. Sometime in the model power ownership, the couplers were changed to knuckles. They're fine. I don't see them as holding a lot of weight, but I always tack this thing onto the end of the train, so they're really not an issue. They've never decoupled from the train, and they're at the right height. Wheels are a totally different issue. They really suck. They tend to derail over curves and over a lot of switches. I glued in some weights into the ends, and it seems to get around just fine, but it still likes to derail on some switches in my club's yard. I'm hoping to slap some metal wheels onto it someday, as the flanges are still large. So that's pretty much it. It's a pretty simple project, and it's pretty much cemented everyone's horror that I was actually willing to make stuff like this. It was a fun project. Everyone I've talked to seems to really take it in stride as good, fun humor, with one guy at a train show going so far as wanting his photo taken with it. It's all for fun, and it sure as hell was fun to make. If you think I've gone unchecked for too long after this, A, you're probably right, and B, believe me, what I originally bought the decals for is so much worse.